The evening light filtered through the tall windows of Meridian, one of the city's most exclusive restaurants, casting warm shadows across the elegantly dressed diners. Natalie Brooks moved through the space with practiced efficiency, balancing plates and wearing a professional smile that hid her exhaustion. At 29, she had been working at Meridian for 6 months, one of 3 jobs she juggled to pay off the student loans from a degree she had never finished. She was delivering entree to table 12 when she saw him, and the plate in her hands nearly slipped from her grasp. Evan Mitchell, her first love. The boy she had dated all through high school and into college, the one who had wanted to marry her. The one she had left behind when her father got sick and she had to drop out of school to help care for him and support her family. That had been 7 years ago, and Natalie had not seen or heard from Evan since the day she told him she could not marry him because she had to move home and take care of her father. He had been devastated, and Natalie had been heartbroken. But she had not seen any other choice. Now he stood in the center of the restaurant, wearing an expensive dark suit, his hair styled differently but his face still achingly familiar. He was speaking with the restaurant manager, and from the way the manager was treating him with different respect, Natalie realized with shock that Evan was not just a customer. She steadied her hands and finished delivering the plates, then retreated to the kitchen, her heart pounding. She asked one of the other servers about the man in the suit. "That's Evan Mitchell," the server said. "He owns this place. Actually, he owns the whole restaurant group, 5 locations across the city. He's here doing one of his regular check-ins. Word is he started from nothing and built the whole empire in less than 5 years. He's kind of a big deal." Natalie felt the room spin. Evan owned this restaurant. Evan, who she had left because she needed to work multiple jobs to support her family, was now the CEO of a restaurant empire, and she was working as a waitress in one of his establishments. She spent the rest of her shift trying to stay out of his line of sight. But in a restaurant, servers had to move through the space and eventually their paths crossed. Natalie was carrying a tray of drinks when Evan turned directly into her path. She stopped short and they stood face to face for the first time in 7 years. Recognition flashed across Evan's face, followed by shock, then something more complicated that Natalie could not quite read. "Natalie," he said, and hearing him say her name after all these years made her eyes sting with unshed tears. "Hello, Evan," she managed, acutely aware of her simple uniform and apron, of the tray in her hands, of the vast distance between where they had started and where they had ended up. "You work here?" Evan asked, his voice carefully neutral. "For about 6 months now," Natalie said. "I didn't know you owned it. I didn't know you were in the city. I haven't heard anything about you in years. Can we talk?" Evan asked. "After your shift, please." Natalie knew she should say no. What good could come from this conversation, but she found herself nodding. "My shift ends at 10 o'clock. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Natalie served tables on autopilot, her mind replaying every memory of her relationship with Evan, of the life they had planned together, of the painful moment when she had walked away when her shift finally ended. She found Evan waiting in the office at the back of the restaurant. He had loosened his tie and looked tired in a way that made him seem more human, less like the successful CEO, and more like the boy she had once loved. "I need to understand," Evan said as soon as she entered. "What happened to you? 7 years ago, you told me you had to leave to take care of your father, that you couldn't finish school. I tried to help, tried to offer support, but you shut me out completely. And now I find you working as a waitress in my restaurant." Natalie felt defensive and ashamed in equal measure. "My father had a stroke. The medical bills were crushing us. I had to drop out of school and get a job immediately. Multiple jobs, actually. I've been working 3 jobs for 7 years trying to keep my family afloat. Why didn't you let me help?" Evan asked, and there was pain in his voice. "I loved you, Natalie. I would have done anything to support you to help your family. You were a student, too," Natalie said. "You were working part-time at a restaurant. To pay your own tuition. What could you have done? I couldn't burden you with my family's problems. It wasn't fair. So instead, you just disappeared." Evan said, "You broke up with me, moved home, and cut off all contact. Do you have any idea what that did to me?" Natalie felt tears spill down her cheeks. "I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was setting you free to build your life without being dragged down by my problems. And look how that turned out." Evan said bitterly. I built an empire, and you're still struggling. That's not what I wanted, Natalie. I never wanted success without you. I wanted us to build something together. They stood in silence for a long moment, 7 years of pain and misunderstanding hanging between them. How did you do it? Natalie finally asked. How did you go from working at a restaurant to owning 5 of them in 7 years? Evan's expression softened slightly. After you left, I threw myself into work. I worked full-time at that restaurant while finishing school. Learned everything I could about the business. The owner took a chance on me, promoted me to manager, eventually made me a partner. When he retired, I bought him out and started expanding. I built all of this thinking that maybe if I became successful enough, if I had enough to offer, I could find you again and prove I could have helped you back then. Natalie's breath caught. You built this for me. I built it because of you, Evan corrected. Because losing you taught me that love means showing up even when it's hard, fighting for people even when they think they're protecting you by pushing you away. I just never expected to find you here still struggling, still carrying everything alone. He stepped closer. Your father, is he still alive? Natalie nodded. He's better recovered enough to work part-time again, but the debt from those years is still crushing. I'm working 3 jobs to pay it off, while trying to save enough to maybe finish my degree someday. Let me help you now, Evan said. Please, not as charity, not out of pity, but because I never stopped loving you, and I've spent 7 years wishing I could have been there when you needed me most. I don't want your money, Evan, Natalie said, though her voice lacked conviction. I don't want to be a burden. You were never a burden, Evan said fiercely. You were the person I wanted to build a life with. Let me help you with the debt. With finishing school, with building the life you deserved to have 7 years ago. And then, if you're willing, let's see if we can find what we lost. Over the following months, Evan and Natalie rebuilt their relationship slowly, carefully. Evan helped Natalie pay off her family's medical debt and supported her return to school to finish her degree. But more importantly, he showed her every day that she did not have to carry everything alone, that accepting help was not weakness but wisdom. Natalie graduated 2 years later with a degree in hospitality management, and joined Evan's company, not as a waitress, but as a partner in building something together. They discovered that while 7 years had changed them both, the foundation of what they had loved about each other remained solid. 3 years after that chance encounter at the restaurant, Evan proposed to Natalie at the exact table where she had been working the night he walked back into her life. 7 years ago, you thought you were protecting me by leaving, Evan said as he knelt before her. You thought you were setting me free. But you were wrong. Freedom wasn't succeeding alone. It was building something with you. I spent 7 years creating an empire hoping to be worthy of you. Now, I know the only thing that matters is building the rest of our lives together. Natalie said yes through happy tears. And they were married 6 months later in a ceremony that included her father, healthy and proud, walking her down the aisle in her vows. Natalie said the words that captured everything they had learned. I thought love meant protecting you from my problems. You taught me that love means letting someone stand with you in the hard times. I thought I was setting you free. You taught me that we're only truly free when we're brave enough to build something together. Thank you for never giving up on us, even when I gave up on myself. Sometimes the people we leave behind to protect them end up finding us again when we least expect it. And sometimes the greatest act of love is not walking away to shield someone from our struggles, but allowing them to stand beside us and prove that together we can overcome anything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more tales of first loves reunited. Discovering that sacrifice sometimes means accepting help rather than refusing it, and learning that the strongest relationships are built when we let others see our struggles and choose to face them together. Comment below and share about a time when pushing someone away to protect them backfired, or when accepting help led to unexpected healing. Your story could give someone else permission to let others in.